Zurück am Rechner.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Das Spiel erneut beginnt.
The meeting room. Yes, that's where everyone would be. Stanley just needed to get to the meeting room, and from then on, he would never be alone ever again.
Mal schauen, was passiert.
This is the story of a man named Stan. All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left. Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office. Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office. Okay, I think we all know the drill by now. Blah, blah, blah. Dark secrets, the keypad. Stanley pushes some buttons. Oh, hey, look, it's a new passageway. Quelle surprise.
Okay. Bla bla bla. Gut. Wenn er so anfängt, bla bla bla.
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility. Although this passageway had the word escape written on it, the truth was that at the end of this hall, Stanley would meet his violent death.
Sterben wir natürlich. Sagt.
The door behind him was not shut. Stanley still had every opportunity to turn around and get back on track. At this point, Stanley was making a conscious, concerted effort to walk forward and willingly confront his death.
Gönn mich allen auf den Tod. Bin schlauer als der Tod. Nicht reinjumpen.
As the machine whirred into motion and Stanley was inched closer and closer to his demise, he reflected that his life had been of no consequence whatsoever. Stanley can't see the bigger picture. He doesn't know the real story, trapped forever in his narrow vision of what this world is. Perhaps his death was of no great loss, like plucking the eyeballs from a blind man. And so he resigned and willingly accepted this violent end to his brief and shallow life. Farewell, Stanley.
Farewell, Stanley, cried the narrator, as Stanley was led helplessly into the enormous metal jaws. In a single visceral instant, Stanley was obliterated as the machine crushed every bone in his body, killing him instantly.
Noch merkwürdig. Wir leben.
And yet it would be just a few minutes before Stanley would restart the game, back in his office, as alive as ever. What exactly did the narrator think he was going to accomplish? When every path you can walk has been created for you long in advance, death becomes meaningless, making life the same. Do you see now? Do you see that Stanley was already dead from the moment he hit start?
Ja. Landschaftsgemälde, Sakutaru, Bürogrundriss. Aussieht. Gegangen. Aber wichtig, das Spieltempo in diesem ersten Abschnitt sich einzustellen. Dieser Korridor wurde verschoben, verändert. Sich sicherzustellen, dass die Spieler die beiden Türen in einer guten Zeit erreichen. Pro Computer erstmal ausschalten. Oh. Knopfgeräusche. Wir haben die Credits. Einen kenne. Also das reicht. Oh. Wartungsraum, die erste Version davon. Ah, Vierer. Irgendwie was so in eine Richtung hier. Hat man so gesehen, seine Modelle oder sowas. Hat man dann so gesehen ins Spiel eine Übersicht. Ultra Deluxe Ankündigung. Dezember 2018 ankündigten bei den Game Awards die Ultra Deluxe Version von Stanley Parable an. Dies sind die Screenshots und Videos, die wir für die Ankündigung und Verzögerung des Spiels gemacht haben. An. Das hier wüsste ich jetzt nicht, wie man das erreicht. Schlachtfeld. Von frühen Entwicklungen haben wir Ende entworfen, bei Stanley auf einer Schlachtfeld landete. Gegen Aliens kämpfte, sollte erfindungsfähig werden und Krieg gegen den Erzähler führen. Kurz nachdem wir mit der Entwicklung begonnen hatten, merkten wir, dass es viel zu witzig und zu kurz gedacht war für den Charakter des Spiels. Außerdem wurden es von manchen Leuten so interpretiert, dass das Spiel sich für Leute lustig macht, die Ego-Shooter mögen, was nicht Absicht war. Fehler-E-Mail. Eine. Oh. Tätigen. Schalten sich auch um. Boah, haben wir jetzt nicht bewusst. Handy ist vor von der Entwicklung her. Spieldesign-Modell. Das ist das Level, das William, der Level-Designer, der den Autor als eine Art Vorspielstück geschickt hat. Die Stärke des Levels führte dazu, dass William für das Design des gesamten Spiels eingestellt wurde. Obwohl sich viel an der Umgebung geändert hat, ist der Grund des Designs immer noch im Spiel erhalten. Und dann schreibt dich jetzt Ende. Freiheit. Überwachungsraum auf. Eine Zeit lang konnte der Aufzug im Monitor nach oben oder unten fahren. Mit Freiheit oben und unten hatten wir aufgegeben, weil die Spieler es zu schwierig fanden, sich zu merken, was oben oder was unten war und haben stattdessen die beiden Endungen zusammengelegt. Ja. Chefbüro. Okay, so. Hier irgendwas Interessantes.
See how it's impossible for the player to do anything in this room. When Stanley came perfect
Oh,
example of
text.
four-level design, textbook mistake. It's the kind of thing you'd pick up on intuitively if you had even the most fundamental understanding.
Alles, was ich hier nicht einfach hinsetzen kann. Hintergrund. Mindcontrol.
Here, I'm just going.
Ende, Parable.
Oh, look at these two. How they wish to destroy one another. How they wish to control one another. How they both wish to be free.
Muss ich's denn ausmachen?
Can you see? Can you see how much they need one another? No, perhaps not. Sometimes these things cannot be seen. But listen to me. You can still save these two. You can stop the program before they both fail. Push escape and press quit. There's no other way to beat this game. As long as you move forward, you'll be walking someone else's path. Stop now and it'll be your only true choice. Whatever you do, choose it. Don't let time choose for you. Don't let...
Quatsch. Pfannkuchen. Hat wer Pfannkuchen bestellt?
Wait, Stanley thought to himself. Am I sure that the orders stopped coming in? How is that possible? They never stopped. Surely I was mistaken. No, the orders were still missing. For now.
Wollen wir hier warten?
Oh, please. Are you really just doing this for the achievement? Click a door 5 times. Is that all that you think an achievement is worth? No. I can't just give these merits away for such little effort. A measly 5 clicks. Now suppose you were to click the door 20 times. I would say that's the kind of effort that warrants recognition.
Der Rechner war noch an.
I have to say, I'm still not feeling the satisfaction of witnessing true effort for a noble cause. Perhaps 50 clicks will do it. Yes, almost certainly 50 clicks.
Nö. Haben doch noch.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Ich hopp.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there. Oh no, not again. I won't be part of this. I'm not going to encourage you. I'm not going to say anything at all. I'm just going to be patient and wait for you to finish whatever it is you enjoy doing so much in this room. Please take your time.
Die Kamera ist doch toll. Warum soll die nicht toll sein? Ist zwar nicht so, die ist doch toll.
to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office. But Stanley just couldn't do it. He considered the possibility of facing his boss. Admitting he had left his post during work hours, he might be fired for that. And in such a competitive economy, why had he taken that risk? All because he believed everyone had vanished? His boss would think he was crazy. And then something occurred to Stanley. Maybe, he thought to himself, maybe I am crazy. All of my co-workers blinking mysteriously out of existence in a single moment for no reason at all? None of it made any logical sense. And as Stanley pondered this, he began to make other strange observations. For example, why couldn't he see his feet when he looked down? Why did doors close automatically behind him wherever he went? And for that matter, these rooms were starting to look pretty familiar. Were they simply repeating? No, Stanley said to himself, this is all too strange. This can't be real. And at last, he came to the conclusion that had been on the tip of his tongue. He just hadn't found the words for it. "I'm dreaming!" he yelled. "This is all a dream." Oh, what a relief Stanley felt to have finally found an answer, an explanation. His co-workers weren't actually gone. He wasn't going to lose his job. He wasn't crazy after all. And he thought to himself, I suppose I'll wake up soon. I'll have to go back to my boring real-life job pushing buttons. I may as well enjoy this while I'm still lucid. So he imagined himself flying and began to gently float above the ground. Then he imagined himself soaring through space on a magical starfield, and it too appeared. It was so much fun, and Stanley marveled that he had still not woken up. How was he remaining so lucid? And then perhaps the strangest question of them all entered Stanley's head. One he was amazed he hadn't asked himself sooner. Why is there a voice in my head dictating everything that I'm doing and thinking? Now the voice was describing itself being considered by Stanley, who found it particularly strange. I'm dreaming about a voice describing me, thinking about how it's describing my thoughts, he thought. And while he thought it all very odd and wondered if this voice spoke to all people in their dreams, the truth was that, of course, this was not a dream. How could it be? Was Stanley simply deceiving himself, believing that if he's asleep, he doesn't have to take responsibility for himself? Stanley is as awake right now as he's ever been in his life. Now, hearing the voice speak these words was quite a shock to Stanley. After all, he knew for certain, beyond a doubt, that this was in fact a dream. Did the voice not see him float and make the magical stars just a moment ago? How else would the voice explain all that? This voice was a part of himself too. Surely, if he could just... He would prove it. He would prove that he was in control, that this was a dream. So he closed his eyes gently, and he invited himself to wake up. He felt the cool weight of the blanket on his skin, the press of the mattress on his back, the fresh air of a world outside this one. Let me wake up, he thought to himself. I'm through with this dream. I wish it to be over. Let me go back to my job. Let me continue pushing the buttons. Please, it's all I want. I want my apartment and my wife and my job. All I want is my life exactly the way it's always been. My life is normal. I am normal. Everything will be fine. I am okay. Stanley began screaming. Please, someone, wake me up. My name is Stanley. I have a boss. I have an office. I am real. Please, just someone tell me I am real. I must be real. I must be. Can anyone hear my voice? Who am I? Who am I? And everything went black. This is the story of a woman named Mariella. Mariella woke up on a day like any other. She arose, got dressed, gathered her belongings, and walked to her place of work. But on this particular day, her walk was interrupted by the body of a man who had stumbled through town talking and screaming to himself, and then collapsed dead on the sidewalk. And although she would soon turn to go call for an ambulance, for just a few brief moments she considered the strange man. He was obviously crazy, this much she knew. Everyone knows what crazy people look like. And in that moment, she thought to herself how lucky she was to be normal. I am sane. I am in control of my mind. I know what is real and what isn't. It was comforting to think this, and in a certain way, seeing this man made her feel better. But then she remembered the meeting she had scheduled for that day, the very important people whose impressions of her would affect her career, and by extension, the rest of her life. She had no time for this, so it was only a moment that she stood there, staring down at the body. And then she turned and ran.
Das Ende kennt man.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Mist. Wir haben jemand gesehen. Wir haben jemand gesehen.
When Stanley came to a set of two open doors, he entered. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it.
Ja, da war doch jemand.
Wow. Yes, this room. But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left. And so he detoured through the maintenance section, walked straight ahead to the opposite door, and got back on track.
Hier eins ein. Nein. Wie jetzt? 1, 1, 4, 1, 2.
Yet there was not a single person here either.
Gemein.
Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there.
Warum ist das jetzt vernagelt? Warum hatte das jetzt vernagelt? Hast du irgendwie einen bestimmten Grund, dass es vernagelt ist?
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Will da nicht hin. Sag's denn. Die Tür hier zu. Da, 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 da. Was? Da, 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 dale. Ist hier noch was? Alle. Der Vorschub sollte doch irgendwann mal ankommen. Oh ja. Fahrstuhlmusik, die schönste Musik. Da, 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 bam, bam. Da kommt.
Here's the door. Just go.
Okay. Er ist auch wie ein bisschen pissig, kann das sein? Oder bilde ich mir das nur so ein? Ich glaube, das ist ein bisschen sauer auf.
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility. The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this
Das Lustige an diesem Aufzug ist, dass er fast alles ist, was nie etwas macht. Boah. Musik hat was, aber ansonsten ist halt besonders, der Aufzug.
Now the monitors jumped to life, their true nature revealed. Each bore the number of an employee in the building, Stanley's co-workers. The lives of so many individuals reduced to images on a screen, and Stanley,
Wo waren wir denn?
eternally monitored in this place where freedom meant nothing.
Ah. Das war nicht so schlimm.
This mind control facility, it was too horrible to believe. It couldn't be true. Had Stanley really been under someone's control all this time? Was this the only reason he was happy with his boring job? That his emotions had been manipulated to accept it blindly?
Ja, wurden manipuliert und
No.
Hoch mit uns.
He refused to believe it. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control? Never. It was unthinkable. Wasn't it? Was it even possible? Had he truly spent his entire life utterly blind to the world? But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions. Happy or sad or content. Walking, eating, working. All of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life. For he would dismantle the controls once and for all.
Mein Control idle, awaiting input. Und dann gehen wir mal hin und schauen wir mal. Halt. Kann hier nicht runter. System Power on oder off? Machen wir mal off.
Blackness and a rising chill of uncertainty. Was it over?
Bestimmt nicht.
Yes. He had won. He had defeated the machine, unshackled himself from someone else's command. Freedom was mere moments away. And yet, even as the immense door slowly opened, Stanley reflected on how many puzzles still lay unsolved. Where had his co-workers gone? How had he been freed from the machine's grasp? What other mysteries did this strange building hold? But as sunlight streamed into the chamber, he realized none of this mattered to him. For it was not knowledge or even power that he had been seeking, but happiness. Perhaps his goal had not been to understand, but to let go. No longer would anyone tell him where to go, what to do, or how to feel. Whatever life he lives, it will be his. And that was all he needed to know. It was perhaps the only thing worth knowing. Stanley stepped through the open door.
Ist so schön, um wahr zu
Stanley
sein.
felt the cool breeze upon his skin, the feeling of liberation, the immense possibility of the new path before him. This was exactly the way, right now, that things were meant to happen. And Stanley was happy.
Happy life. Früh gefreut.